If you look at the Mount Rushmore of guitar legends, you'll see the usual faces: Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, and Eddie Van Halen. But there is one man who took the instrument and turned it into a turntable, a siren, and a weapon of political warfare. Tom Morello didn't just play the guitar, he interrogated it. He stripped it of its bluesy clicks and forced it to scream. But before he was the Nightwatchman, he was a kid in Libertyville, Illinois, who didn't even pick up a guitar until he was 17. Born in Harlem and raised in a predominantly white suburb, Tom was the son of Mary Morello, a legendary activist, and Ngethe Njoroge, a Kenyan diplomat and former Mau Mau guerrilla. Radicalism was literally in his DNA. Imagine being the only black kid in a town where the KKK still had a presence. Tom didn't fit in, so he dug in. He spent his teenage years obsessed with two things: Ivy League academics and the raw power of punk rock. While his peers were practicing scales, Tom was practicing his politics. He headed to Harvard University, graduated with a degree in social studies, and then he moved to LA to become a rock star. His first major label shot was with a band called Lock Up. They were a funk metal hybrid that sounded like everything else in 1989. They released one album, it flopped, and the label dropped them. At 26, Tom Morello was a Harvard grad living in a studio apartment, wondering if he'd just wasted his life. But failure is the best fuel. He decided that if he was going to fail again, he'd do it being 100% himself. In 1991, Tom met a young, fiery rapper vocalist named Zach De La Rocha. Zach didn't sing, he exhaled napalm. Along with Tim Comerford on bass and Brad Wilk on drums, they formed Rage Against the Machine. This wasn't just a band, it was a riot set to a groove. Tom realized he couldn't play traditional solos over Zach's hip-hop delivery. It sounded too white, too classic rock.
Brothers and sisters, thank you for welcoming us to the Battle of Minneapolis.
So, he made a decision that changed music history. He stopped trying to make the guitar sound like a guitar. He started mimicking the scratches of Grandmaster Flash. He used a toggle switch like a kill switch to create stuttering, glitchy rhythms. He used a Digitech whammy pedal to make the guitar squeal like a panicked animal. The 1992 self-titled debut album was a cultural nuclear bomb. Killing in the Name became the anthem for every frustrated kid on the planet. But it wasn't just the sound, it was the message. They were multi-millionaires signed to Epic Records, a subsidiary of Sony, yet they were screaming about the machine. Critics called them hypocrites. Tom's response? If you want to get a message to people around the world, you use the global telecommunications system. Through the 90s, with Evil Empire and the Battle of Los Angeles, Rage became the most dangerous band in the world. They protested the PMRC by standing naked on stage with duct tape over their mouths. They played on the roof of a van outside the Democratic National Convention. They shut down Wall Street for the day after an impromptu gig outside. They were the bridge between the tensions in the world and the mosh pit. But by 2000, the tension between Zach's intense vision and the rest of the band's musical direction reached a breaking point. Zach walked away. The machine had stopped. The world thought the rat rhythm section was done. Then, Rick Rubin made a phone call. He told Tom, Tim, and Brad, "You guys need to jam with Chris Cornell." Chris Cornell was the voice of Soundgarden, the soulful, operatic king of Seattle grunge. On paper, it shouldn't have worked. Rage was political and rhythmic. Cornell was introspective and melodic. But when they formed Audioslave, the result was a stadium rock juggernaut. If Rage was a fist, Audioslave was a tidal wave. Tracks like a Stone showed a side of Tom we'd never seen. Restraint. He played haunting, atmospheric textures. Don't get it twisted though, the solos on Cochise and Gasoline proved he could still melt faces. In 2005, they made history as the first American rock band to play an outdoor concert in socialist Cuba. Tom was back in his element, using music to cross borders that politicians couldn't. But after 3 albums, the creative spark flickered out. Cornell returned to Soundgarden, and Tom found himself at another crossroads. While he was playing stadiums with Audioslave, Tom was secretly moonlighting at open mic nights under the name The Nightwatchman. No pedals, no Marshall stacks, just an acoustic guitar and a voice that sounded like gravel and revolution. He called it the Black Bruce Springsteen. It was a return to his roots, Mary Morello's son speaking truth to power, but the machine was still calling.
And if the president reads my tweets, I would also suggest that he put those sons of bitches in those orange jumpsuits, put some black hoods over their heads, and crank Rage Against the Machine 24 hours a day.
In 2016, with the political climate reaching a fever pitch, Tom decided the world needed those riffs again. Zach De La Rocha wasn't ready to return, so Tom did something bold. He recruited Be Real from Cypress Hill and Chuck D from Public Enemy. He called it Prophets of Rage. It was a super group. They played the hits of Rage, Public Enemy, and Cypress Hill. It was a massive middle finger to the status quo. They toured the world during one of the most divisive eras in history, proving that Tom's riffs were timeless. Whether it was 1992 or 2016, Bulls on Parade still made people want to tear down walls. Today, Tom Morello isn't just a guitar player, he's a collaborator-in-chief. His Atlas Underground projects see him working with everyone from EDM producers to heavy metal newcomers. He's the elder statesman of the alternative. He even joined Bruce Springsteen's E Street Band for a tour, bringing his signature whammy squeal to the ghost of Tom Joad. So, what is the impact of Tom Morello? It's not just the 22-fret solos or the Grammy Awards. It's the fact that he proved you can be an intellectual and a rock star. He proved that the guitar doesn't have to be a museum piece. It can be a synthesizer, a drum machine, or a megaphone. He taught a generation of kids that if you don't like the machine, you don't just complain about it. You pick up an instrument. You learn your craft until your fingers bleed, and then you use that craft to scream until the world listens. Tom Morello didn't change the world with a politician's speech. He did it with 6 strings and a toggle switch. And he's not done yet. If you haven't yet seen or heard any music from this guitar-melting, political activist and heavy metal legend, then do yourselves a favor and check him out. Have a dig through his albums and his vast body of amazing songs and see what you can find. Drop a comment below and tell us your favorite Rage Against the Machine, Audioslave, Prophets of Rage, or the Nightwatchman song or album, and what live shows you've seen, and make sure you subscribe to the Heavy Metal Cartel for more progressive rock, punk and heavy metal videos.